Hey guys, it's Alina here, and today I have another first impressions video for you. Today's video is on the brand new Tarte Bling It On Amazonian Clay Blush Palette. So before we get started, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you love first impressions videos and you want me to keep doing them, because I'd be happy to do that. And let's just go ahead and get started. So if you've been subscribed to my channel for a long time, you know it's no secret that I love a good holiday set. And this year, I think all the brands have kind of outdone themselves. So there are going to be several of these first impressions videos based on the holiday sets, but today we're going to focus on the Tarte Bling It On Amazonian Clay Cheek Palette. So this palette is a part of their Holiday 2015 collection, and their collection is themed around holidays. So this palette is exclusive to Sephora, and of course, along with all the other holiday items, it's a limited edition item. The blush palettes do tend to sell out, so if you are interested, make sure you go ahead and buy it, and you can get it for $44. The overall value is $110, and the Sephora website says that it's 5 full-size blushes. Technically, it's not full size because it's 0.15 ounce per blush, and a full size is 0.2. Still great value regardless. So this palette includes some new shades as well as some kind of fan favorite shades, which is kind of nice. So this is what the box looks like. Basically, their entire collection kind of has this theme, which to me it's like kind of like a geometric, almost like a chevron print mixed with like abstract geometric flair. But yeah, so they're all this kind of look. One thing to note compared to last year is that this is much slimmer palette. So last year's palette was pretty thick and it was kind of like cushioned. It really did look like a clutch. And last year's palette, as well as the previous palette, it came with like a little extra items. So 2 years ago was the off the cuff palette, and it came with a bracelet. Last year's was pinup blush palette or something like that, and it came with hairpins. This year's doesn't come with any extra flair, and I think that that's fine. I'm sure people thought that it added an extra value, but how many people really use those extra items? And last year's palette just was extremely bulky. So I know a lot of people didn't like it because of that. A lot of people are thinking that this palette is going to sell out even quicker than last year because it's thin, just like the off-the-cuff palette. So it makes it more portable, and people tend to really enjoy that. So the actual palette itself is called Bling It On. So it is a black sequency type of pattern. So it's very shiny, very chic looking. And even though it looks like a sequence, it doesn't really let off like a sequence or glitter. It's kind of interesting in that sense. So it is a magnetic closure, which is great. Last year's palette was a snap closure, which is kind of annoying at times. It does come with a decent sized mirror, which I think is great. And these are the colors. By looking at it, I'm already extremely excited because last year they included some sort of like, it was like a neutral shade, and that was kind of just a complete waste because if it's going to match your skin tone, then what's the point of it? So at least this year they included all shades that can really actually show up on most skin tones, which I think is great. So most of the shades do look like matte shades, except for Beaming, which seems to have a little shimmer to it, but nothing too offensive. Just by looking at them, I'm already really excited because of how slim the palette is. A good range of colors that are definitely wearable and perfect for a trip. So I could totally see myself taking this palette as well as the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette or the Lorac Contour palette, and then being all set for my total cheek look on a trip without having to take up too much space or without having to only bring one option. So I know you guys are just dying to see the colors, so let's get to swatching. So here we have all the blush colors swatched. This first color here is Fetching, and it's a matte, kind of like a watermelon-y pink. The second color is Dollface, and it is a cool toned light pink. The third is Prim, and it's a more natural, like nudie pink. The fourth one is Smashing. It's a lighter, kind of a corally pink. And then the last shade is Beaming, and it doesn't show up that much on my skin. This is the only glittery shade, and it is a light pink, like a light nudie pink with a little bit of shimmer to it. So these are all the blush shades. They're actually extremely pigmented. Without having used them before, I would say Fetching is definitely going to be one of my favorites, and I think Prim is going to be a really nice everyday color. I already have Dollface, and I do use it, but not as much as I probably should. The only colors I'm not too sure about are these last two, so we'll see how those work out. So my final thoughts on this palette. No secret and no surprise that I absolutely love it. I just think that these blush palettes that they put out every year are always a really good value and a great way to try a bunch of different blushes without having to spend the money on a full size and potentially not like it. And they tend to choose shades that are just something that everyone's going to enjoy, so I really appreciate that. I also love how slim it is. I really don't take the pinup palette anywhere because it's so bulky, but this one I could totally see myself taking this on trips and really being all set when it comes to blush. While I do prefer wearing shimmery blushes just because I love everything that sparkles, including this palette, I will say that Tarte blushes are extremely blendable, and depending on how heavy-handed you apply it is how much color you're gonna get. So it's definitely still user-friendly even though they're matte blushes. Once again, this palette is exclusive to Sephora. It is limited edition and it is $44. I'll leave a link below if you're interested in purchasing it. I haven't seen it in stores yet, but I assume that it will be in stores eventually. If you really want to see it in stores before you make your purchase, you can contact your local Sephora and have them give you a call, or just call them, every few days to see if the palettes are in yet. Usually Sephora and JCPenney, the people there are a lot more willing to do that. The one near me has a whole binder of the people that she calls for particular items when they're in stock. So you could essentially, be able to pick it up in store, or at least you can go and see it in person before you make your purchase online. These palettes do sell out, and I know that everyone is kind of waiting for the VIB Rouge discount code sale that tends to happen in November, but I know that this palette last year kind of sold out partway through that. So if you really want this palette or any of the holiday sets, and you would be crushed if it sold out prior to then I would definitely get it and not just wait out for the sale. I want to know what your thoughts are on this palette. Is it on your wish list? Have you picked it up yet? What do you think? Leave your comments below because I'd love to hear that. I hope you guys enjoyed this first impressions. Be sure to give it a big thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other videos. Hope you guys have a good one. See ya!